Hello and welcome to the She Heals the World talk show. I'm Izzy and I'm so excited to have our guest today, the super inspirational Dr. Jaclyn Tolentino. So
Hi.
Dr. Jaclyn, she is a board certified family physician practicing holistic and whole body medicine. And she's got so much experience from the Institute of Functional Medicine. She's been educated in Ayurvedic healing, quantum biology, integrative oncology, a wealth of knowledge. And she's also an expert contributor to publications, including MindBodyGreen, Women's Health. She's been featured in Vogue and the Wall Street Journal. And when she's not caring for her patients, she enjoys catching sunsets on the beach with her family and proudly advocating for her fellow young breast cancer warriors. So I love this bio. I was so excited to chat with Dr. Jaclyn, and her story and experience is so inspirational. So I'm really looking forward to our talk. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Izzy. And it's really an honor to be here. I can't wait to dive in with you. There's like a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, let's get started. Obviously, I've done like a quick resume of your bio, and I forgot to mention, obviously, that you are also the head physician at Love Life. So, can you tell us a bit about your background and your journey as to how you got here?
Yeah, it's quite long, so I'm going to truncate it for everybody. But I became the lead physician here at Love Life in more of the functional medicine sphere because I had my own health challenges early in my 30s, and those health challenges made me realize that I needed to practice a different way. I needed to live a different way, and I was doing it for not just myself, but for my patients. I was diagnosed with breast cancer really early. So we're talking in my early 30s. And at the time, I was practicing concierge medicine in Miami Beach. Was doing that for about 5 years and seeing patients every day, multiple per day, even on the weekends, even on holidays. And then you get stuck with this diagnosis and you go through harrowing treatments. And then you realize that you want to live differently in order to heal your body, and you want to practice differently because seeing 20 to 30 people a day, 5 days a week, and working the weekends and holidays is not serving you. And so I took some time off after the diagnosis, and I was focused more on my healing journey myself. And during that time, I looked into what else I could learn for myself, for my patients when it came to practicing medicine. I'm a board certified family doctor and I still maintain that, but I knew that that wasn't enough to help me understand what I wanted to learn. And when you look into diagnosis like cancer and you look into what are all of the possible root causes that contribute to this kind of disease, I started doing a lot of research into functional and integrative medicine. So this was me digging deeper than just the traditional family medicine so that I could understand my body better and understand how it got to that point. When I did that, I spent a few years really studying and learning and immersing myself in that kind of education, moved out to Los Angeles and joined a practice that was really dedicated to holistic care. And now I'm at Love Life and we've taken it one step further, which really excites me because now in-house, we have an entire care team of multiple experts that are all focused on each member's journey. So imagine, Izzy, that you've got your doctor, you have a doctor who has a really great lens on root cause medicine, helping people understand why they have disease. Then you have an integrative care team on board, traditional Chinese medicine, somebody trained in energetic healing, a health coach to help support the lifestyle that these patients need to have, having, what else do we have? Oh, physical therapists on board, having personal trainers on board, and all kind of collaborating on these discussions. So even the registered dietitian is involved in our discussions. So my patient care has evolved a lot from being board certified in traditional family medicine to working in the concierge space, then getting sick, and then realizing I wanted to do more, and then moving more towards the preventive health and the holistic health space. And at Love Life, we have this really great holistic health and wellness club where our patients get access to all of the experts at once. So we meet on a regular basis, talking about the cases together and collaborating. And that's really something beautiful that you don't get that experience at very many places.
It sounds incredible, and you've probably got the dream job for any sort of functional medicine doctor, naturopath, actually having a clinic that combines all of that. And I guess it's so interesting because, from your journey being very much in the traditional medicine to then doing that sort of 180 to bringing in sort of the holistic root cause approaches. So I mean, there's so much I want to go down because obviously, I think a lot of us can relate to sort of going through, difficulties, as you said, obviously for you, sort of that cancer diagnosis and actually the challenges of treatment and all that sort of stuff is huge, huge
Mhm.
part of your life that's led to sort of really incredible, I guess, journey, pivot to a new way of
Mhm.
life. And I think that in itself is just so incredible that you've done that and now you're sort of sharing this with people so that they
Mhm.
maybe you can get that integrative approach so that they also are able to find that healing that they need. um,
Yeah.
so actually, in fact, that's going to be my next question. How have you found then sort of, yeah, integrating sort of that journey that you've been on in terms of your own health with what you're doing now and sort of serving others?
Yeah. You know, at first I was like, how do I do this? And when you learn as much additional information that you learn when you go down into root cause medicine and integrative health, you realize there's a whole new world of healing that wasn't really present in traditional training. And it needs to be present, needs to be celebrated, because in my mind, that was also what supported my own healing journey. And I've seen anecdotally how patients respond to holistic health. And what I love about it is that it doesn't imply that patients can't see traditional doctors and be prescribed medications. Absolutely, they can. And even for my patients that I see, if I feel as though a prescription is necessary or recommended, then we talk about it, right? I can still prescribe those things. It just so happens that it's not my only tool in my toolbox when it comes to treating and making recommendations for patients anymore. We know that several diseases, if not all chronic diseases, are also driven by lifestyle and environment. So that's a big part of the conversations that we have. We also know that there's access to different kinds of data that can be very helpful to understand the body better. And that's where some more of the root cause medicine comes in, because in addition to traditional blood work, we usually expand those traditional panels so that we have a really nice comprehensive baseline of foundational labs and biomarkers that I'm looking at. And then for some patients, we dig even deeper. I'm looking at how your body metabolizes hormones, or if this person has a really high toxic burden of environmental toxins or mycotoxins or even heavy metals. I might be looking at the gut microbiome to make sure that somebody has a really good homeostasis for the foundation of their gut. And so there's access to like lots of these additional tests that can be helpful, but really listening to the patients and really focusing in on understanding the whole story. I think that's where the meat is. That's where the magic is, because most doctors are not spending as much time as they'd love to really get to know people on that level. But I get to spend an hour with my patients just for the baseline. And then I'm spending another hour to really talk through some more data and recommendations. And I'm also seeing them frequently throughout the year. Whereas most people are only seeing a doctor for 10, 15 minutes once, maybe twice a year. And they're just barely scratching the surface on what some of these, symptoms could be. And then people end up leaving a doctor's office feeling frustrated or disappointed that they didn't get as many answers as they wanted to. So,
And just listening to you talk, like you've got a very healing voice and tone about
oh,
it. So I can imagine so many people just benefiting from being able to spend an hour with you and just, being able to talk about their problems. So,
yeah.
so do you find then your work allows you to, yeah, align with your values and beliefs then?
Yeah, it needs to. It needs to. Like, for example, my own personal constitution was I need to be doing something that I love. I need to, because I also feel like patients know. Patients know the difference when they see a provider, they see a doctor, whichever kind of practitioner, and they can tell when that practitioner is burnt out, frustrated, not feeling well, not engaged, not listening intently, So I do my best to really to kind of like support myself, focus on my own self-care, but also try to live those values that, of course, we're talking to our patients about. And it becomes more of a collaborative discussion. So in the very first visits, we're really taking it all the way back, Izzy. Like we're talking about birth history, we're talking about childhood, we're talking about, different kinds of illnesses that may have happened throughout the course of life. It's usually not just a discussion about what symptoms people have now. It's usually about the evolution of their health journey over life. And those are two very important things. They're different things, but they're both equally important because just because somebody is coming to you with hot flashes, fatigue, and weight gain doesn't mean that this just happened overnight. Sometimes there's an evolution to the story behind it that we really need to understand in order to really figure out where this is coming from.
And so one on that sort of journey that you've been on, I mean, have you faced any challenges from, being a conventional doctor to where you are now? Like, how has it been?
Yeah, that's a hard question because it's hard to be brave. It's hard to be a little courageous and to stand up and say things that might be, different from mainstream and different from just the standard of care. So the way that I typically like to do it is just to speak to my own experience and speak from the heart. And that is usually what helps to support that honest opinion that kind of just comes through when you're just speaking authentically. So in traditional medicine, it's important for me to still stay board certified. And what that means is I typically engage in a lot of education, a lot of continuing medical education each year, so that the foundations and the roots to traditional care is always there. And then I get to explore and kind of involve myself in all the other fun stuff where you're learning about root causes and understanding things on a deeper level and diving into hormones and immune system and things like that. So I feel very lucky and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to practice both, right? I still see patients as their primary doctor, but I have a very different lens. And that lens is also rooted in helping people understand their bodies better, learning about their physiology, and utilizing some of the new tools that we have, in addition to this beautiful place where all of the experts are located right here with me, and we can collaborate and talk about the cases. So, I think medicine is also evolving more and more where people are a little frustrated with their health, they're frustrated with the traditional system, and they're also looking to explore their own curiosity. They're looking to think of how else or where else can I find healing support for what I need? And that's where practices like what we have kind of come in to kind of like help support patients who want the best of both worlds.
So, out of interest, so you're talking about some of the CME you've been doing. What made you do also explore like the Ayurvedic side of medicine? Because obviously it's like a play
Yeah.
of different types of healing traditions that you could dive into. What attracted you to
Yes.
Ayurveda?
Yeah, so I did my Ayurvedic health coaching support through Katie Silcox, who did Shakti School. And when I heard her speak for one of the very first times, I was like, wow, I love that philosophy. And I'd love to incorporate it in what my knowledge base is, so that when I am caring for patients, I'm also thinking with that lens or that hat on. And part of my own journey has also been to support getting pregnant. And it was several years for me, especially post-cancer. I had a lot of issues with the chemotherapy and the hormone suppressive treatments. And so my fertility journey was several years before having baby Koa. And during that journey, I wanted to explore everything. So traditional Chinese medicine and of course learning about Ayurveda kind of just helped me expand my lens so that it wasn't just so technical and so Western, but I did explore and open my mind to all the healing modalities that Eastern medicine offers. And then you kind of like integrate and support that luckily at Love Life, we have practitioners and experts in these fields. So we have a traditional Chinese medicine doctor and herbalist who does acupuncture and energetic support. And it's really nice to kind of talk through some of these ideas and collaborations because I still have that traditional medicine underneath. And then, of course, when you talk about functional and integrative medicine in a different way, it just adds to the experience and the richness of what patients experience when they come to see me.
And obviously, congratulations on baby Koa.
Thank you.
And how have you found like balancing, being a mum and also obviously sort of the lead up to being a mum with work? Because I appreciate sort of juggling two different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was unfortunate but fortunate with the breast cancer journey because it made me realize that I needed to slow down. And that meant, taking that time off to really expand my knowledge, but it meant checking in with myself very frequently to figure out intuitively what I needed in order to really show up to be my best self. And when I was at my previous job, I was pretty much winding things down at my previous job. And in that overlap between starting up at Love Life, I took several months off for my maternity leave. And that was really important to me. And it was so interesting, Izzy, because it was just at the time that Love Life had their grand opening and was opening up their facility. And I was not there. I took 3.5, if not almost 4 months off to just soak in and absorb like all the things that were happening to me at that moment in my life and welcoming my son and really taking the time. And then even then I just thought, how can I show up my best self and what are my needs? And I needed to stick to that. Whereas very early in my career, when I was at Miami Beach Doctor, I was not sticking to those needs. I
Yeah.
was tired every day. I was burnt out. I was hustling. Obviously my body was raging with disease at the time. And I wasn't honoring that. Whereas now I pretty much set the boundaries every day to make sure that I am really sticking to focusing on my work and immersing myself when I'm here. And then also like literally putting up the hat and just focusing on home life when I'm home. And that I think for me is probably one of the most crucial things because I do need to set the distinction for myself. And that's just a personal thing that I need to do in order to do both and show up at both places as my best self.
And I think it's so brave to, if you're starting a job, you want to be there for the for the as you said, for this like grand opening, just to be like, actually, do you know what? I'm going to put myself and my family first. And those
Yeah.
decisions, like they're actually really, really hard. And
Yeah, I felt like I was missing out on everything. I was like, for all the work, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not here for this event and that event. But then like that was like the Dr. Jaclyn in her head. And then the Mama Jaclyn was like, no, you are exactly where you need to be. And that's home, resting, healing, focusing on Koa, like watching every little movement and milestone and all those changes. So I kind of just like reminded myself that this is where I need to be in my life right now. And I kind of like put that doctor side of me to rest that really just wanted to hit the ground running. And then when I finally did go back to work, that's when I was like, all right, roll up the sleeves, let's get going. Let's make sure that I'm like, back in the game. But it's been fun and challenging to balance both.
yeah.
And I don't know anyone who's doing everything perfectly. I feel like it's always a juggle, but learning to be flexible and continuing to set those boundaries where you need to, and just being true to yourself. Just reminding yourself when and if you feel like you're overdoing it or on the laptop too much, or even on your phone or checking emails when you shouldn't. And, just really trying to hone in and be present for every experience.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. It's like, yeah, having those strong boundaries, being flexible as well, and yeah,
Mhm.
checking in. And I think yeah, so many of our audience is always going to be struggling with these boundaries and have that fear of missing out, whether it's missing out on the business,
Mhm.
missing out on the mother, those sorts of things. It's always always such a challenge. So it's always interesting to hear sort of, yeah, your take on how you've been able to do the two concurrently. Um,
Yeah. Thanks.
so what I'd love to know as well, sort of around your work, would you be able to talk a bit about sort of I guess becoming who you are today, whether there's any specific, maybe more business style tactics around like marketing or developing a niche, like how did you then, after studying all this stuff, become sort of
Yeah.
in your field?
Yeah, it's hard because most physicians, I say most because I'm thinking about like a lot of my colleagues and friends, we didn't really learn about marketing and marketing ourselves and branding and websites and all of that. They didn't really teach you that because we were packing so much into the medicine and the health side of things that nobody really taught you about the business side. But what I'm learning is that from a social standpoint, we do have the company having its own brand and its own identity. But for me, every time I work for a company, I still love to celebrate my involvement in that company. But then I still also maintain a little bit more of like who Jaclyn is and what does she stand for? What does she want to support? And so that's why I think my personal website is also still really valuable. And then also through social media, it gives people more of an insight into what my life is like. And more people are looking for that. They're looking to see what is my doctor actually like outside of the walls of the doctor's office, and what are some of the things that she does, and who is she following and listening to, and what kind of content is she embracing and putting out. So to me, that's been the fun side that I get to do, because when I was in high school, I was very much an avid scrapbooker. And I have like more than 12 scrapbooks of high school and college, and just like having all of these experiences and wanting to solidify them in some way. And the way that I think about social media now is I think that's also just an opportunity for people to learn who I am. And they can hear your voice, they can hear how you talk about things, they can see what you love. And, it's just a fun way for me to express myself. And it reminds me a lot of my scrapbooking days. So in my mind, it's like a digital scrapbook sometimes, when you're just showcasing a journey, or, talking about something that you love that you recently did, or maybe there's, something about a recent encounter. And I think what I plan to do over the course of 2025 is to show up more in that way, because I think it's also really helpful for people just to learn about that other side. And not everybody can see you as a patient at Love Life, but maybe people are also interested in still learning from what you have to offer. So I think that that's like a fun way to just explore that and be out there and step out. Side note, it's kind of a bonus, is that my mom is 82. She is also a metastatic breast cancer thriver. She's dealing with metastatic breast cancer now. This is her third cancer. And she loves to watch the stories and loves to watch the little videos. And so I think whenever I go on a trip or a conference, or I'm learning something new or describing something to people, in the back of my mind, I'm also doing it because I know that my mom is also, watching. And she doesn't live here. She's all the way in Florida, like thousands of miles away, but it's still an opportunity for her to see a different side of me. So.
Do you know what? I think they're two really helpful ways of looking at social media, because I appreciate so many people struggle. But first of all, thinking of it like a scrapbook, so that, it does make it fun. And also, yeah, thinking
Yeah.
that sort of you're talking to your mother or whoever your loved one is.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Whether they're
Yeah.
following you or not, if you just think about that, you're like, I'm as if people are so happy to send pictures to their family. It's the same
Yes.
way of thinking about it on, social media. So
Yes.
I think you've
Yeah.
actually hit on some really gold tips there. Getting
Well, I
people
mean,
to
like,
embrace it.
it could be so daunting, like people can think of it as like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. I feel overwhelmed. I don't want to, I'm just not going to do anything. And that's fine. But in my mind, I was like, this is who I am. And if somebody can learn from my experience and they can learn, and maybe they're not my patient here at Love Life, but they can learn from something that I have to say, then why shouldn't I share it? What's stopping me from sharing it? And if there's even at least one person that's going to learn something new or get inspired or, pick up a gem about health that pauses and makes them think, then I would have already done my job. And when people send you messages and they send you DMs and they privately tell you a story or an experience or, the fact that something that you said was really important, it hits your heart. And you're like, okay, there is somebody listening. Somebody does want to hear this. And it might not just be my mama.
That is brilliant. And I'd love to know around sort of from the journey you've been on. I appreciate you're sort of a big advocate for, women with breast cancer. Could you tell us a bit about sort of work in that side as well?
Yeah. There's a couple really great nonprofits that I love to talk about and celebrate. Very early on, since I was pretty young in my journey, I did feel alone, and I didn't feel like I had a lot of support outside of like my family being there. I was reaching for the support of other women who might be on the same journey as me, and being really young and getting cancer, and who else can you talk to that might be going through a similar experience? So there was one nonprofit called the Young Survival Coalition. And what I loved about them was they focused on women who were getting diagnosed with cancers very early, very young. So, most of the time people may think of breast cancer as the 50 and up population, but they were focused on the younger population. And I really leaned in there. And I did it for as long as I needed their support. And then, of course, from time to time, I've also stepped back and let go of that. And then other times I've really leaned in and I've supported them through education, through their annual summits and offering lectures. What I loved about it was their impact was they've put together such a beautiful resource of everything, doctors, support groups, webinars, education, tangible materials, resources across the nation. And I really, really valued that at the time when I really needed it for myself.
Mm.
And then as I get stronger, was healing more, then I focus more on education and offering, that kind of support through the work that I do in my profession and being able to talk to young women from that angle. Another nonprofit that I really loved was called Know Your Lemons. And Know Your Lemons, it's beautiful because their marketing and their design was actually started by like a marketing web designer who also felt very passionately about getting breast education out there. We know that the survival rate for breast cancer is 99% if it's caught early. And so that nonprofit was really just focused on breast education for all, because the earlier that we can educate people and talk about it, then it's not taboo. If you feel something strange, you're not freaking out. There are resources, there are next steps and things that you can do about it. And so those are two of the ones that were most impactful. Separate from that, I've always found some of those communities like the Facebook groups to be really helpful. Again, those were ones where I've also stepped in and stepped out because, for some of us, we want the support of knowing that other people are in our experience and we can learn. And then sometimes we step away because it can also be triggering to hear about these kinds of experiences. So, being flexible and just kind of reminding yourself that you don't have to fully be involved in all of those conversations. You get to step in and step out and pick and choose, the times of your life where you're going to find it to be helpful, and then say goodbye if it's, not serving you. And then you can always step back in if you need to. What I love about those communities, especially for young women diagnosed with breast cancer, is that we are a community of women that is very warm and caring and are willing to hold space for each other. And I've only seen that through all of my entire journey, is that, when somebody knows somebody who's been diagnosed, you see the friends that are on these channels that are also wanting to know, how can I support and show up for my friend who's recently been diagnosed in the right way? And that just hits you because it makes you realize how much people really care about this particular population. It's been quite the journey for me. This is now 8 years post-cancer. But when October rolls around, I do offer a lot more education around it. I am a breast health educator for Know Your Lemons. So even having free webinars and those things in the month of October is something that everybody who is a breast educator for Know Your Lemons gets to do. We can offer that at any point in time, even for the She Heals the World community. Yeah, who might be interested in that.
Yeah.
It's, these conversations, the more that we talk about it, the more that we get knowledge in the right hands for everybody. Like I think actually for everybody, not even just women, but men as well, then the better the world will be, right? Because then we can also prevent, we can diagnose early, we have much, much better treatments established for that, et cetera. So
I think it's so powerful, just the community, as you said, just because at that point in time, is families may not fully understand, but being able to connect with other women going through this, said it's yeah, and being able to dip in, dip out. It's really nice, actually, advice as well for
mm,
not
yeah.
overwhelmed, triggered,
Mhm.
come back in, you can go and take it as
Yes.
you want.
Yes, yes. And like the way that it hit for me was very early on, I was so vulnerable because I felt so alone. So I had so much confidence in finding these communities, right? That's where my confidence came from. The confidence continued to build the more that I learned about my body, the more that I kind of dug into the research and the knowledge and the additional learnings through everything else. And it's really been quite the journey because it was never a clear path. There was always a lot of ups and downs because we know healing isn't linear. And the way that I think about it is I'm here for a reason. I have a message to share that people can learn and heal, and their bodies can do it in lots of different ways. That traditional medicine, while it may be the answer for some, other people want a more holistic approach that also includes lots of different modalities that they might not even know exist.
Yeah.
So,
And I so appreciate your work, sort of having, yeah, you've lived through it and you're able to sort of help other women, get access to, as you said, education, preventative, diagnostics, and also just, yeah, the whole realm of healing, because you're an advocate for everything, which is just amazing.
thanks,
We
Izzy.
need more Dr. Jaclyn's. And actually, out of interest, have you had any sort of other sorts of community coaching, mentoring from like a business perspective, or not even as a business, but sort of as a doctor from a professional perspective? Have you found that to be helpful at any point?
Yeah. So, it's funny because throughout, especially the last few years, I transitioned from previous practice to Love Life. I've seen more and more clinicians who, behind the scenes, want support with that.
Mm.
Want support with showing up as themselves authentically, how best they can do that. And I think that there is room in the world for somebody to create, or maybe they already have, to create something that allows clinicians and healers, that kind of training. In my mind, I just visualize the scrapbooking Jaclyn. And so whenever I put out content or, put out a story or a photo, that's like where my mind goes. But I know a lot of people who, might be struggling with that. And I hope that they continue to show up, just even showing up for themselves. Maybe it looks different. Maybe it doesn't look like social media. Maybe it looks like a website or a private community or a newsletter or a blog or a meetup at home. One thing that was really great during the pandemic, we did a book club, and it was me and my husband. We did this book club. We did it over 2 summers. We did 3 books per summer, and that was just our way to also just engage and build community during a time when everybody was working from home and being at home. We brought in, I think, maybe 50 people, 6 different countries. just a small niche group of just getting to know each other and learning from each other as we read these books. And for some of the books, I even brought in the actual authors who would show up on Zoom at the end of the book club and
Yeah.
also just share their, share about themselves, share about questions that people may have had about the book, and just talk to my community and talk to the audience. And people really love that. So, finding community can be so healing no matter what way you find it. It doesn't have to be just within your field or your profession. You can actually learn from so many other people in lots of different ways. So, I really, really want people to understand that and get that message too.
Yeah. Yeah. We love community and whatever shape or form it's in.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
connecting with people. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice you'd give to I'm gonna say sort of, women who are probably also going on a similar journey to you, maybe finding what they're, truly passionate about. Maybe they're going through sort of that career change and, trying to
Mm-hmm.
find someone that's more aligned. What advice?
Yes. Yeah. I think my biggest piece of advice would be to listen to your heart. Take the time to do it, number one, and then really focusing on listening, because early on in my career, I didn't give myself the time and space to listen to what I really wanted, what I needed. And now, several years down the road, that to me is top, very much most important, is that you can really ask yourself, am I doing what I want to do, what I'm meant to do, what I'm here to do? And if the answer is no, 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 then you should take a pause, take a beat, and really explore that curiosity, right? Because when you are practicing and working in that way, and when you are living in that way, it really does feel so much more aligned, and your work will shine. Your home life will shine. You get to shine. And I think everybody's like, for people who don't get to understand that about themselves, that's a dim light. And there is so much more opportunity to help yourself shine by taking a step back and checking in and saying, is this really what I want for myself, for my future, for my family? Is this the kind of growth that I want? And you can ask that for anything. You can ask that for your work. You can ask that for your own individual life. You can ask that about your family. But when I think about it for work, those questions really hit home. And it was so important to me that I continued to live in a way and work in a place that was going to foster and nurture and support that. Because if I was answering no, 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 I wouldn't be here. Yeah.
And another piece of advice, if I could ask, if when people experience like setbacks, failures, that sort of thing, like, do you have any more words of wisdom?
Yeah. Yeah. They suck, right? They're bummers. I like to hold space for myself and let myself feel it. I'm very much, maybe this is just me, but I process, and I'm a little bit more of a sensitive side to that. So I process what happened. But my question that comes out of those types of experiences where I'm disappointed or frustrated or upset is, what can I learn? What can I learn about what just happened? And sometimes that is like something that I need to write down and visualize. Sometimes it's me taking a walk along at the beach and just, soaking it in and thinking about it. But I try to focus on that process and not jump or act so quickly, because I need to be patient with myself and my feelings. So, taking a step back and just asking yourself, what can you learn from this experience? That also just makes you a little bit more curious. So it gives you time to hold space for yourself and process what just happened, but also you're asking some positive questions, right? You're asking about, what is there to learn about what just happened? So that's one thing that I commonly do.
I love asking you these questions because because you're so authentic and you've just got this such healing energy. It's just so nice to get
Thanks.
these really beautiful responses.
Oh, thanks, Izzy.
Um,
Yeah, there's no prep work,
I
right?
know, wow, she's got it. But I do have another question, which is our
Mhm.
big She Heals the World, what we ask everyone, which is What does healing the world look like to you?
Oh, you know, that's a tough one. I'd love to say that I'm the person who can heal the world, but I'm not. I think that we all heal the world by healing ourselves. And what that means is showing up with kindness, with compassion for ourselves and others, being respectful, really being intentional with what you do and how you do it. And learning to really dig deep into yourself. And to me, the more that we heal ourselves, then we are going to be healing the world. So I don't think that anyone is a single-handed superwoman, although I would love that. But, I really think that it's going to take the conscious collective of all of us to evaluate our purpose, evaluate those types of things, and help ourselves understand that, how can we support our own healing journey? It comes out every which way. The work that you do, all the interactions you have, people that you meet, people that you come across, social media, all the things. And the more that we focus on healing ourselves, we are healing the world.
I knew you'd have a great answer.
Oh.
Dr. Jaclyn, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. I wanted to find out if people want to, learn more from you and about Love Life,
Yeah.
where can we find you?
Yes. You can find me at Dr. Jaclyn Tolentino on Instagram. So you'll see my scrapbook on there, my little stories and some education. And, I do plan on showing up a lot more through there. My website is also drjaclyntolentino.com. And if you want to learn about Love Life and our Holistic Health and Wellness Club, we are in El Segundo, California, right here in Los Angeles area. We do see patients on site. We also have some patients that we see virtually. And some people, they love immersing themselves in this beautiful community that we offer. And then if you're local in Los Angeles, you want to come visit, you're interested in a membership, you want to do a tour, all of these things are available. We also have this really nourishing cafe on site with very thoughtful and curated menu. And we also have an educational room. So people that are also in the area, we plan on offering some really nice education that'll be free to the community. So that'll have anybody can come in, member or not, just to explore Love Life and learn about what we do and how we do it and talk about different health topics, including women's health. So if that's of interest to anybody, feel free to send a message. I'm happy to hear from you. And I hope to see somebody soon.
And what's the website for Love Life so that people
Oh, yes. So there is, let me confirm because I want to make sure. I believe it is love.life. So it's not lovelife.com, it's love.life.
Okay, amazing. And
Yes.
I've got a really good excuse to come to LA now.
Please do. Yes, please do. Grab a bite, have a half day, just, chat and meet in person. I'd love to see you in real life.
No, I'm so grateful for what you're doing, the incredible energy you bring, and yeah, it's been such a pleasure to hear your story. And again, very grateful for you to be here and obviously what you're doing by helping, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people with your digital as well. Actually, you're going global.
Yes, thank you, Izzy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. Be sure to tune in next time for more inspiring for more inspiring and inspirational conversations with leaders like Dr. Jaclyn. So thank you everyone, and thank you once again, and cheerio. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the She Heals the World talk show. To find out how you can grow your purpose-driven business, visit us at www.shehealstheworld.com.